How are you, mate?
Good, mate. You?
Yeah, all good. Welcome, listeners, to episode 1 of the Bench Press and Business podcast. So, plenty to go through today. We've got questions, but it's more so a little bit of an introduction to myself and Martin, who's going to be running these podcasts over the coming weeks and months, and however long we crack on with them, really. But yeah, over with Mr. Love up in Manchester. How's things going up there, mate?
Mate, it's all right. You know what? Do you know what the maddest thing is I'm enjoying this. You know, like
Yeah,
people are saying it's making them stir crazy and it's mashing their
yeah.
heads up a little bit. Mate, I'm enjoying it. I don't think my little one hasn't seen as much of me since she was born. You know what I mean? You know, when you get
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
two weeks paternity, she's seeing me every day, every minute of every day, apart from when I'm out training or whatever. Mate, it's been class. I enjoy my own company and I enjoy just being in the house anyway. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, you just get,
this is
it's mad because it's like you've got that little bit of extra time to get on with stuff that you weren't getting on with before as well, isn't it? Like you say,
yeah.
speaking to the
Yeah,
family, spending time with your little ones. You actually get to see he lives in your house after a bit, didn't you? Because you forget
mate.
something.
The maddest thing is you get to actually live in your house. You know, like you
Yeah,
do all that work. You work hard for what you've got, and you never spend any time using it or doing anything with it. Like it's been good, mate. I've been doing the garden. Mate, it's mad. And yeah, it's just for me, it's been good. Like as much as a ball ache and an headache and it's killed people, and this has been a shit thing. But for me, like it's more recharged everything and started everything again for me.
yeah.
It's been decent.
Blessings in disguise a little bit, isn't it? It's one of them,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. I think as well. Not being not being too preachy or anything. Like it gets you to, especially people that are living on their own. Like they're dealing with them. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So you've got to live and deal with yourself. And
yeah.
I think with all the distraction we've got in life, you don't get that. Do you know what I mean?
It's
You don't
true,
get to
yeah.
just. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole self-awareness piece is massive, isn't it? And I think you can just get wrapped up sometimes in all the stuff that goes on in life, and you don't necessarily get a chance to sit and talk to yourself and go, right, actually, how am I taking things on
Yeah.
board? How do I react to things? How can I interpret what's going on around me? It's that little bit of meditation and all of that sort of jazz is big at the minute, isn't it? You've got apps like Headspace and whatever else floating around, but like you say, you don't really get a chance to when you're just focusing on getting up, getting your stuff done, going to work, earning your money, trying to support, provide for your family, all of that sort of thing. It tends to get pushed backwards a little bit. But now you're right. I agree 100%, mate. Blessings in disguise with what's going on at the minute. Although it's terrible what's going on around the world, there's a chance for you to get on and do things if you're respecting the rules, as they say, and you're not having parties in the park and all of that sort of jazz.
Mate, I'm too much of a recluse to even do anything like that. To be honest with you. Honestly, like
Yeah,
I say,
we'll have a barbecue. We'll have a barbecue, but you lot stand outside. That'll be
yeah.
sound.
Well, you bring the meat, leave it on the doorstep, and I'll have the barbecue. What about you? How's it been for you?
Yeah, all right. To be fair, like you said, very, very, very similar. Obviously, you've got a chance to spend a little bit more time with little ones and kind of realise what you take for granted a bit at times, and the stuff that you don't necessarily get a chance to put all of your input into, family, appreciating those around you, all of that sort of thing. It just lets you, I suppose, take a step back and think, actually, these are the things that matter more than anything else. So I should possibly reevaluate how I prioritise what I'm doing and whatever else. Although, for me anyway, everything that I do pretty much is for the girls and family and stuff. So it's just realising that you don't want to let life pass you by for the sake of getting after that stuff that's going to set them up down the road. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mate. It's what do they call it? Swings and roundabouts.
Swings and roundabouts. Yeah, a friend of mine's got a tattoo with swings and roundabouts. We used to say that a lot, mate. To be fair,
yeah, mate, it is though. It is because you know what you want to do, you know what you need to do, but sometimes you get lost and caught up in that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And then you don't the stuff. Well, everything matters, but the stuff that you take for granted because you think it's always there. Do you know what I mean? That then goes. And I think this situation, these 5 weeks, have made you value that
It's like light bulb a bit, innit? That little bit of light
yeah.
bulb, like ping. Actually,
Yeah,
that's what matters, not everything.
Yeah, and I think you go like that, like that's what I'm doing it for.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm doing it like me, like you know my story, like me. I'm doing it because I want to live abroad. I want my family to uproot, move, live in another country, speak another language. Do you know what I mean? So we can spend more time together because I enjoy other cultures rather than the culture that I'm in. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I get caught up massively with. I've got this business. I've got a full-time job. I play football as well, and I've got all that. I have no time for not no time for me, but no time for them, for what I'm trying to do everything for. Do you know what I mean? And this has made me think, actually, a few more hours a week or a day a week with the people that I'm doing it for makes everything better. You know what I mean? So so as it's been for me, it's been a blessing in disguise, to be fair.
Yeah. It's pretty much the same, to be fair, mate. So obviously we've took a bit of time to get some questions down for each other and get the listeners introduced to us. So touched a bit there on what your reasons are, what your whys are, so to speak, which is on my pad, funnily enough. So we'll kick on from there, mate. So obviously you've got the reasons, but what's your background? Tell the guys, where have you come from, mate? What's your story?
What's my story? I was a little muppet from a council estate in Middleton in Manchester. Still live in Middleton now. Been around and about. Bit of a, I don't know. I think people that have known me for a long time, for years, going back 15 to 20 years, would say I'm probably an individual that is selfish.
Yeah.
Back then I was selfish, all about myself. Didn't really think or care about how I made other people feel. It'll be mad me saying this to you, you knowing the guy I am now. Yeah. So grew up in Langley Estate in Middleton in Manchester. I'm an only child, but I grew up in a massive family. So there's my mum. She's got 6 brothers and sisters. She had me young, so she had me. She's 20 years older than me, 19 years older than me. So she had me young. I was born in '81, so it was different, massively different back then than what it is now. I was the minority. You know what I mean? And I don't mean racially. I mean more like it was me and my mum, and then my nana and granddad. Do you get what I mean? Living in a house. Whereas back then, everybody had a mum and dad.
Yeah, I get it.
In my school and stuff like that. So when I say I was the minority, I mean in that manner or in that respect. And then I think because I was on my own, I had cousins, and my cousins was like my brothers and sisters, really. We looked after each other. We spent every Sunday, all the family would go around because we've got such a big family, would be at my nana's. I lived there anyway. And we just got about like brothers and sisters. So I was I'm the second oldest cousin within my mum's brothers and sisters. And I'm the oldest boy. So it was like...
The protector.
You know, yeah, trying, you know what I mean? These was all little young, so I just got about and did what I needed to do. I had an older uncle that was a bit of a not right, and he won't mind me saying that. He was a bit of a not right, but he showed me the way, and I learned a lot of social skills, and I think more. You just got. I understood and I knew how to act around all different types of people because of a guy like that. And then we talked about it loads. Then I got into school. I was one of 3 black kids growing up on a white estate. So you can imagine the kind of shit that you get through that in late 80s, early 90s. Then I found football, and I think that's what started to switch me on, get me to... I mean, we talked about it loads. Get me to mix with loads of different types of people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, changing rooms are like that, though. Now you get people from all different backgrounds, different experiences, different lifestyles, just coming into a changing room, and I think sometimes some of that just gets put to one side. It's like, actually, I'm not bothered if your mum or your old man's earning 80k a year and you're from a council estate, single parent household.
No.
Like, that doesn't matter. Let's get your boots on and get out there and look after each other, type thing. So.
Exactly. And like the teams that I ended up going and playing for and stuff, it was everybody from all different walks of life. You'd have your toughs, you'd have your posh guys, you'd have lads like me, and just a group of lads that just had one common goal, and it was the love of football, love of playing a game. That gives you so much joy and a buzz. And if you've got a couple of years that work hard together, then you start to get results. You win things, and you feel good. You know what I mean? And that as I was growing up, that helped me then be able to sit in a room of people and be able to just chat openly and be okay. Do you know what I mean? And know how to deal with different diversities and different people and stuff like that. And football's been like the development and growth of me as an individual. Obviously, life experiences as well. But that
I think that's massive, though. We spoke about it 1,001 times, to be fair. But that whole changing room and team aspect of it, and if you're in the changing room and you're someone who you almost learn how to adapt, like you were saying there, to different personalities, and you might say one thing to your striker who's got a certain type of personality and he'll get really fired up by that. But then if you were to say the same thing to your left back, who's at the other end of the scale, they might go into their shell and not be able to portray themselves and play how you want them to play, or to the level that you know they can. So you're adapting constantly then, aren't you? Like you're saying, speaking to different types of people it just helps. I think sport in general, maybe not. We're probably going to be a bit more football. Biased. Yeah, we're probably going to be a bit more biased towards football, but both having played. But yeah, sport in general, definitely. It's a good out for people, and it helps people just learn how to be themselves a little bit, I suppose, if they're in the right environment anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you're being a bit modest there, mate, when you're talking about your football skills, to be fair. So talk to us about that. How did you get on with football? Tell the listeners your story there, mate.
Did good, mate. Played. I did all right. Played at Junior Blues City when I was real young. Got in YTS for Burnley. Played there for a bit, and I played semi-professional for most of my life, making decent money, especially when you're a young 17, 18, 19-year-old. Doing something that you love doing. Been here, there and everywhere. Done a stint played in the League of Wales, which they consider a professional league, whether everybody else does. But like that kind of experience.
How was that, mate? How was that playing over there?
It was good, mate, because like it's weird, mate, because North Wales and South Wales are like, it's Wales, but massively different. So the team I played for first was in North Wales. And that was called Halliwell, and then I went to Haverford and West, if I'm saying it right, I can't remember. And then I went there, and that was in South Wales, and it was mad because in North Wales, the coaches would talk to you in Welsh. So like there was me and a Nigerian lad that both lived in Manchester that was both he was called Imi, and we both was playing for the same team, and we'd go there, we'd both sit there, they'd all speak Welsh in the changing room and then he'd tell me what to do. I'd go on the pitch, it'd just be like, I'm a striker, so it's just score goals, everybody's happy kind of thing. They'd be shouting at you from the sideline in Welsh. It was good, mate, but like I said, it was treated like a professional. You do interviews after the game, there'd be big crowds if you're playing against if he's playing against Real, they used to draw in decent crowds. Who else brought in good crowds? Wrexham at a time before they moved up into conference and then went into the English side. It was the experience was good. You know what I mean? From there, got the opportunity to have a dabble in Cyprus for a couple of months. That's a pro league over there, mate. I'm not doing it. I'm not even I can see you smiling over there. Definitely, that can come in a couple of episodes. But yeah, went over there, did a little bit over there. What
was that like over there? Like, obviously you were fairly young, weren't you, when you went out there? Yeah, really?
wasn't the experience I thought or expected, and I think that's me from saying to you a minute ago about being very arrogant, very cocky, being all about myself. To then that experience made me humbled me a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because I went there expecting to be this, go and play in this league class, professional, can talk to all your mates, tell them that you're a pro footballer and all that, and it just kind of like wasn't what it was, what I imagined it to be. You know what I mean? Come back home, living with my nana and granddad. So going from leaving, telling everybody, yeah, I'll be playing in the Champions League in a few years, to then being sat in your nana's and having to start from scratch, wasn't a good a good feeling. But it was a humbling experience that made you then start to think about others and think. And I think that was the start of my journey then, of like understanding, supporting, coaching. Do you know what I mean? If I actually go back and think about it, that was probably the first part of me going, oh, I don't want anybody else to feel like this. Whereas up until that point, and I was 19. Up until that point, I didn't care. Do you know what I mean? I didn't care what I said, how I felt, how it made other people feel, but that made me feel terrible. So then it was, we'll go from there. And then so from that,
almost resets you a little bit to think.
Yeah.
Probably similar to what we were saying a little bit earlier, actually, about this situation that we're in now with COVID-19, coronavirus, etc. Just that little bit of a ping. Actually, maybe I've not necessarily been, approaching things how ideally I should be, or maybe I should tweak my approach a little bit and go after things a little bit different.
Yeah, most definitely. Then got back playing semi-pro back in England, and it carried on from there, really. Mate, I've
still playing now, 60 years old, mate. Don't look bad for that.
That's what I'm saying. What am I? 38, still trying to play, but he's catching up to me, mate. You know, like when you play a match, your ankle is sore, your knees are sore, your lower back's sore. Mate, honestly, I've been training. I told you, didn't I? I've been doing. I've been training as if the season was still on. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, I go and do 140 minutes worth of graft. Short, it could be long distance, it can be drills, it can be ball work, anything. I just go on a field myself, take balls, take cones, and crack on. But I'm picking up niggles just doing that. Do you get what I mean? So I might look all right, but like inside, it's starting to
show a little bit. It could be worse, mate. You could be playing over 30s when you've just turned 30.
But yeah, so and went back, come back playing semi-pro, and just decided to just enjoy playing and stop chasing money. Do you know what I mean? And then that made me focus on a career then. So then I started to say, I enjoy that. I've had an injury in the past. Let me, because I got my cartilage trapped down my knee joint very, very, very young. Looked back at that. This is why my knees aren't great. My knee isn't great. What can I do? Started to research how to strengthen the muscles around the knee, how injury prevention helps, what kind of exercise, stretching, functional mobility, mobility, postural analysis, all that kind of stuff. I started to research that when I come back and started to play. And that's when I got into the gym then, because I was always like really slim. I'm 5'8". I was skinny, little. So I used to get booted out on the wing, got a left foot, quick, can't now, could run the 100 metres under 11 seconds. And I used to just get booted out wide, and I used to get told all the time. I remember when I was playing for Ashton United, I'd come back to the UK and I was playing for Ashton United, and they was playing in Conference North at the time. The tier names have changed, mate, so forgive me if I'm saying the wrong stuff, but so what it is now is the Conference North. So I was playing in that, and I was playing alongside. Do you remember Joe Royal?
Yeah.
So Joe Royal's son was the captain of the team. There was good investments. It was good investment. It was a good club. Good players come from all over, and it was good. But the manager just wouldn't play me down. Down the middle. It's called Jerry Quinn. He'd rather play me to the left or to the right, and he wanted a big forward up front. So I thought to myself, and he kept getting me to do drills where I'd have Royley on my back, and I'd have to trap it, hold it up, and protect the ball, and then set it. And mate, I just want to get the ball, take somebody on, and put it in the top corner or the bottom corner. So it was hard, that, and because I couldn't hold him off because he was so big, then I started to look at training. And sports specific training, how important squatting is for any kind of athlete, and stuff like that. And these guys knocking about. And I'm talking, this is like 90, well, when was we now? It was going into 2000, 2001, 2002. So it was rare that a footballer would do any legwork. You know what I mean? So I started to do that. I watched a lot about how American footballers trained and what they did, and that got me into that. Then I started to coach and help other guys on my team. Just started to give advice to people, which then became a passion. And I was like, you know what? I want to do this for a living. But it wasn't. It wasn't until long down the line, because I was still making all right money from playing semi-pro football. I was obviously doing little stuff on the side, which obviously I'm not going to say too much about on here. And then just doing odd jobs and stuff. And I remember me, my cousin Scott, and my uncle said that there's this gardening job for the parents. These what I come. So we did this gardening job for 4 years, and while I was doing that, I was studying, getting my qualifications to become a PT, and did all that really. And then juggled the two jobs and the football at the same time, just to try and make sure it was the right time to come into the industry as a fitness professional, if that makes sense.
Yeah. As in, like, more so in your journey rather than, or do you mean the industry? What do you mean? Right time for your journey, or more so for the industry?
Mine and the people that I'd be coaching. Do you know what I mean? Because like we talk about this all the time when we deliver our foundation courses and stuff. We say stuff like I think it's massively important to focus on the business side of stuff. We talk about all the time. That's what this podcast is about, for God's sake. And I didn't think I had enough financial backing at that time to go in and then start to focus on people and coaching and nurturing the mentality, not just physically, but everything. Do you get what I mean? And that takes time. Plus, we're paying bills and stuff like that. So I didn't feel it was the right time to just quit and then go straight into that. It ended up happening anyway, because nothing ever happens the way you expect it, especially when you're younger. So I got fed up of the gardening gig. It was fun in the summer, unreal, mate. I was on a ride on just cutting headphones on. It was good. In the winter, you're like litter picking, shrubbing beds, cutting bushes down, gritting floors when it's snowing. It's February. It's just, mate, it's not good. So I remember around November time, I just went, right, I'm done. Went home, said to the missus, look, I want to knock it on the head. I don't think we've got enough money, but I reckon I'll make it work. So she was like, right, sweet. I was doing a part-time fitness coach job at the same time, doing 16 hours that I was doing 40, 50 hours a week gardening, and then the football as well. So I chinned the gardening off, and I just went straight in as a PT, cracking on and seeing what I could do. Struggled massively, mate, because of the pressure, the stress of then this is what I need to support the household. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I went inside myself. That's a stupid way of saying it, but you know what I mean. I think I went in myself a little bit. Instead of going and approaching people and speaking to people and building a rapport, I just stood there. And there was a balcony at the gym where I was. So it's massive balcony. I should have stand and lean on the balcony, wait for people to come up. Didn't even say hello to anyone. Shaved head. Do you know what I mean? I was, what was I at the time? 94, 92 kilos or something like that. Like, just
pretty much that stereotypical PT that we tend to talk about at when we're going through the foundations courses, and almost the image of what most general public and population see as a PT, isn't it? That, to be fair, mate. But it's good that you learn from that, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, massively. But it wasn't until I say this on the foundation course all the time, say it to any PT. It wasn't until, it was a long time that, mate, that period of me sorting my head out and going, do you know what, mate? What are you doing? You just stood there looking at people, or I go into default, and if I'm uncomfortable, I'll just go and train. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm stood there. There's nobody coming to approach me. Right, this is shit. I'll tell you what, I'll get my kit on and I'll train. That ain't bringing no money in. That ain't helping no people. That isn't doing what I came into the industry for. So it wasn't until a friend of mine, Daryl, who was a fitness coach there, he just pulled me to one side. He was stretching on the mats and he said, come here, Sex. So I walked over and he went, mate, you know your stuff. You're undoubtedly know what you're doing. He said, but I've never seen you do anything constructive with the time that you spend in the gym. He went, how often are you in this gym? I said, 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours, easy. He was like, right, and what's that done for you? And I went, made me upset. And he went, right, well, do us a favour, go home. So I was like, go home? He was like, yeah, go home, come back tomorrow and spend 2 hours at reception saying hello to people like what I do. I was like, what? And this was back in the day. This was a long time. I was going back probably 10 12 years here. And this is a time when it was very, very competitive. You wouldn't walk in a staff room like you do now and people give you advice, or be able to log on to YouTube and watch PTs give advice and coaching tips. It was, you walk in, they look at you and they're like, this individual wants my money, my business. So I can't wait to see them fail, rather than let's all help each other succeed, because that breeds more wealth. You know what I mean? Yeah. So from that then, I went home and I just sat there. I didn't understand what the crack was, what he meant by it. Come in the next day and he was there. He was like, mate, stand at reception. Everybody that comes through that gate, just say morning. That's all I want you to do. And I just did that. From that, I got my first client. Just from that. And I was like, what the hell? Why is nobody telling anybody this stuff?
Yeah. This magic pill, saying hello to people, just it changes everything.
Yeah. And then that made me approach people. And it made me then start to think about, like, if they know that I'm here for a reason, and we say it all the time, like what they see and what we think they think of us and what they actually think of us is two totally different things.
Yeah.
And you look at the guy that I was, shaved head, tightest tops ever, tighter than the one that I've got on now, to be fair, and just big and just not relatable, not approachable, nothing. But even though I looked like that, and I still said hello, how you doing? How's your day? What can I do for you? That then brought the barrier down and made them go, actually, this guy's all right. Yeah. And then they ask, what they do is you just have general chat. And then what builds from there is it always will lead to a chat about fitness. Like, I'm struggling with this. Martin, can you help? Do you get what I mean? So that's what started happening. So I did that, and the business started to pick up. And then I started to help the fitness instructors, or the fitness instructors, it was called then. Started to help the fitness coaches out, just saying, like, if you're going to be doing your level 2 and level 3, there's some things that isn't spoke about on that course, what you probably need to look at. And then just started to drop little hints and go and approach people, say hello, offer them this. It was an industry at the time where everyone was selling products by the bucket load, selling programs by the bucket load. So there was always selling packages, they were selling something, there was always selling something. So if they were speaking to you, they were selling, just like the guys on the high street with the name tags and the little iPads and that. That's all it was. So British I was just like, mate, massively. And so then I was just like, right, go and speak to people, just go and say hello, build up a bit of a rapport, then bring them in and do a bit of an induction for them, write them out a program, let them run with it, and then just catch up with them. And then what was happening from that then, these fitness coaches was moving into PT, whether it was with this company or going to another company or whatever. And that was what was happening. And the manager caught wind of it. He was like, what are you playing at here? What are you letting everybody leave? And I was like, I'm just helping. And then they offered me a job as the fitness manager then. And then it went from there and grew. Do you know what I mean? And I realised then that supporting, help, and coaching, not just physically coaching a client to get a result, it's more like just giving somebody a hand to improve themselves, which then will improve more people. Makes me buzz. Do you know what I mean? So it's gone from wanting to be a pro footballer and thinking that I was going to be one of the world's best players to then supporting, nurturing, and help coaching individuals get where they want to be, whether that's like we talk about all the time, whether that's a new assistant manager wanting to become an RM, or a fitness instructor, fitness coach wanting to become a PT, or an online coach, or just somebody that just wants to support and help mentor other PTs. I just want to help people do that. Do you get what I mean? And it's mad, mate, because like you're going to touch on like your journey now, and It's always, there's always, I say trigger all the time, there's always a trigger or something that makes you go, that changes you a little bit. No, I wouldn't say change. It just develops you. Everything's development. Yeah. So any kind of experience I have, it becomes development, self-development for me, to then help and support other people. That's pretty much where the journey's led me to. As quick as I could, mate. I don't know how long that was, but
it's about 3 hours, that, mate. To be fair, but that's decent. Yeah, it's good. But I think along the way, one of the things I've got down here, just for you to open up about a little bit more, is like you've mentioned, you've had coaches along the way, as in football coaches and people that have helped you and whatever. But how did you find working under different coaches in football? Was there anyone that really stood out, or different approaches?
Yeah, there was. It's mad, like, because like there's always ones that you just didn't get you, or you didn't get them, and you just hated. The one that, and the guy, any of the guys that will be listening or watching now that played under him will know exactly what I'm saying. So A.D. Moran at Prestwich Hayes. So this guy lived and breathed this club. He was the manager and he was the owner as well. But he was a football guy. Do you know what I mean? And what he did was he used to go out on a night out with registration forms in his pocket, and if he seen a decent player, he'd sign them up. Do you know what I mean? And he was looking to. He was an Alex Ferguson, like he was looking to build a winning team all the time. He was always thinking about like his team, how he can make that better, and the team that I played for. During, I think it was like a 5-year period, we won everything, mate. We went everywhere, won everything. It was class, and it was amateur into semi-pro. Do you know what I mean? So he took a lot of us semi-pros out of semi-pro football, from like conference, national league, all the way back down into amateur football to grow his team, just because of that guy as an individual. Do you know what I mean?
So you kind of like, everyone jumped into that team because of the individual, the type of person he was, more so than the level they were at. Like it's that they're attached to the person, then, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it only backs up all the stuff that we always say: people buy off people. I was playing at FC United at the time, and FC United was a team that everybody was like, there was getting 4,000 fans a week coming to the game, and it was semi-professional, like. But bottom, there was in the lowest tier of semi-professional football. Do you know what I mean? But he was trying to climb all the way up. He's paying half decent money, and then he's just come and said, "You're not getting many games because the manager didn't really fancy me. He wanted to play me out wide. I hated playing out. Anybody that knows me or played with me knows that I hate playing out wide. I always used to get through out wide. And then he said, like, I'm going to play you out wide, but we're going to play 3 forwards. So you're going to be one of 3 up front. And all we're going to do is I'm going to find this Lee Connell attacking midfielder that's just going to put you in every time. And you're going to just score. That's all you're going to do." So I was like, that sounds class. He said, mate, all I want you to do is save your energy for putting the ball in the back of the net. That was it. And nobody had ever
Striker's dreams, isn't it, that, to be fair, mate? Striker's dream.
Nobody's ever, in all the time I've been playing, all the way from 8 years old all the way up to then, nobody's ever said, this is what you're good at, so I'm just going to get you to do that. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, get back, work hard. Mate, if you've ever seen me tackle, I'm shocking. You know what I mean? Like, it's the worst thing. And it was just, he knew how to work with each individual. He knew what to tell us. He knew how to speak to us. If he was leaving me out, I'd be angry. But I didn't hate him for it.
You got it. Like, there was a bigger picture, and you were bought into that bigger picture almost.
Yeah, massively. Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think everybody that played for him at that time will say exactly the same thing. It didn't matter if he was in the starting 11 or the 22. You just wanted the team to do well. And whatever he said to you, whether it upset you or it didn't, you just respected the guy for it because he was honest. Do you know what I mean? And he's the one that I would say is like...
You stand out.
Stand out. Best guy I play for. And I've probably learned loads from him. And some of the guys that I played with at the time, mate, will say that I give him a headache, to be fair. Because when I used to get put on the bench, I used to kick off. If we used to have to go for a 3-mile run at training, I'd just go sit in the car and wait and stuff like that. Mate, I was an absolute nightmare. But he was by far the best manager I've ever played for. And I think I just fully bought into the individual.
Decent, that, mate. Because you'd think, obviously, you've had a bit of success there, and that's something that'll probably stand out to you. But with the different countries, the different environments and stuff you've played in, for that to be the standout guy is probably quite a bit of a badge for him to wear. He'd probably be quite pleased to hear that, I'd guess.
Oh wait, well he's not with us unfortunately now.
Okay.
But like I said, and that's what made the team kind of separate and stuff like that. Like it just wasn't the same after he died. You know what I mean? But
wow.
It was just an unreal individual, and I'd be saying that even if he was still here. You know what I mean? Like it's not that bullshit when people like rate somebody who's just died because they've just died. He just got you and you just got him. Do you know what I mean? And he was just good to work for. And you didn't know what was going to get built when he brought us all together. You just didn't know, but you just trusted. Like, you know, when somebody says, "Trust me," you just know. Yeah. And I think I'm probably like that in a way now when it comes to mentor support, coaching, clients, PTs, whatever. It's if they don't believe and trust in the stuff I'm saying, or buy into me as an individual, no results are going to come out off the back of that. Do you know what I mean? And we talk about managers. People will bring in a David Moyes or a Sam Allardyce for a relegation battle because he'll walk in there, he'll shout at them, give them what for. They'll get out of relegation, but the next season people will be like, "Who's this clown?" Because there's no substance behind shouting. After the shouting and the bawling, there's no substance behind it. There's no support. There's no nurture. There's nothing behind it. Do you know what I mean? And I think I just think that you've got to understand, and more importantly, they've got to understand you and where you're coming from in order for it to work. And then that's, for me, that's how buying happens.
Yeah, well, it's that, isn't it? You're almost. I think the thing with people like Moyes and Big Sam and those sorts of guys, they almost get pigeonholed a little bit for that job. Like, they're really good at that job, so that's all they're good for. But they must have some skills in there, mate, to be able to keep pulling that off. But yeah, definitely agree with the whole buy into that individual, and you're going to pick up from that person. And so you'd say that you took quite a lot from him, and you've tried to implement that with your style of coaching and.
Yeah. Well, bits of everything, like we talked about on the live the other day. Just it'll be business people that I've read about or watched about. There's bits from what I've learned from Richard Branson, but like actual people, it's rare that I will pick something up from somebody that I'm around. Do you know what I mean? They have to make a massive impact on myself for me to then take bits and traits from them to then use for myself to help other people or whatever. And he was one, most definitely. That when I think back about it, it was just like, because he'd be calm, but he'd be aggressive. You know, I say it to you all the time. It's just like us with our kids. Like, you, like my 8-year-old daughter. Like, I'll tell her off, and at that moment she will hate me, but it only lasts for a minute or an hour or however long it lasts for. But then she realizes that I'm doing it because I love her. I'm doing it to support and help her. And that's what it was with him. I just got that. And sometimes when people are doing things, you don't get it like that. And that's buying in it. Like, if you bought in, you'll understand.
That, I think that the thing with buying, it's something that you tend to speak about quite a lot. Obviously, both of us work and spend a lot of time supporting and coaching gym managers on how to get the best out of groups of personal trainers or people that may be working underneath them, or however that might look for them. But that whole buy-in topic is quite a big one and can get quite deep, can't it, really? I think there's loads of different elements to it. But the first one really that springs to my mind, and that I've tried to implement myself with PTs and guys that I've had working out of gyms that I've been running in, is just actually genuinely caring about those people and the success of them. But not just success because you want it to be successful for yourself, but genuinely having that buzz if other people go out there and they make something work, and then they're seeing the rewards off the back of it, and it just builds and grows from there. And then you're literally sitting there, aren't you, at the end of it with your chest held high, feeling proud, feeling buzzing that these guys have gone and implemented something and they've just been successful and had results from it. But yeah, that whole buy-in topic, I think that'll probably be one well worth us venturing into a little bit more so. But yeah.
Definitely. So what about you, mate? Let's hear a little bit about you.
been a bit quiet, haven't I, to be fair?
You have
Just
been a
listening
little
to
bit
you.
quiet.
So I'm getting a
Mate,
word in sometimes
I'm
with you, mate.
I'm telling you, like, I said to you before we even did this that you should have let you go first, because I can go all day long.
All day.
Right, go on. Tell these guys about your background.
So yeah, a little bit different really to you. In fact, probably quite opposite, because you'd had your successes and you'd been benching around playing football and whatever else. And my route into the industry was very, very early. So initially, obviously being younger, obviously again probably quite similar in terms of background of growing up on a council estate, having some friends that were into all sorts and seeing things, being around experiences and whatever else. And I think you tend to take a bit from that anyway, and it gives you that little bit of something as you're growing up, which is probably helpful long term. So got that initially. I think someone I've always admired and looked up to was my great granddad. So he was obviously fought in World War II, won numerous medals when he was in that. Just an all-round. If you sit there and think of someone that is an inspiration to you, or someone that you look up to, he was one of the people that I really have always looked up to. Still have a picture of him up on the mantelpiece now at home, and just someone that I look up to. And obviously with his army background, that was something that inspired me. So initially when I was younger, that's all I ever wanted to do, was just go in the forces, go and live that life a little bit, travel around, see the world, and serve more than anything. So I had in my mind to go into the army as an officer. Obviously, as you're growing up, then you just realise that actually I'm pretty decent at sport, so I'm all right at anything other than swimming. If you ask anyone who's seen me swim, mate, they'll say. In fact, to be fair, one of the lads, one of my best friends, if you speak to him about me swimming, he just says it's like watching someone drown in a sink. It's that bad. So there's that. So anything other than swimming, I'm all right at, mate. But like I say, from a sporting point of view, exercise, etc., you just think actually this is something I enjoy. It's probably the one thing that I used to actually really look forward to doing at school as well. So started to think, right, how could I get something out of that? Was then going to look at going into the RAF as a PTI, so physical training instructor. That was kind of my initial aims coming through school, really. And then one thing led to another. Went into sixth form, hated it. Wasn't a massive fan of sixth form after exams. Kind of dossed around for the first year of that. Didn't really get much from it. Just didn't have that much want and focus, I suppose, at that young age. But almost in the back of my mind, knew that if I didn't do that, I wasn't going to get where I wanted to get to in terms of going into the forces. So then started to think, right, what else do I enjoy? I'd played football for a while, obviously nowhere near the level that you were playing at, but played at an all right level, played with some good guys, had some experiences from there, and thought, actually, I'll have a look at coaching, football coaching. What can I get from that? How can I, the one thing that really gets me energised, exercise, sport, football, absolutely buzz off that. So I ended up going to college, did football coaching and spent quite a lot of time with someone who, he was the tutor of the course actually, but someone who really changed my whole aspect and whole outlook on life. Joe Jackson, his name was. He used to played for Wolves, been around a bit, played a good level of football for a long time, come back to Wolverhampton, and seen that obviously young people were getting involved in all sorts of stuff, and wanted to create something that would channel them almost, so that they weren't going out and getting into trouble, and they could use football to give them a bit more direction. So he was the tutor of the course actually, and like I say, he had a massive impact on me, and changed a lot of the way that I looked at life. I think when you are younger, you tend to sit there and think Wolverhampton is the be all and end all. Like there's nothing past my postcode, so to speak. That's everything that matters. And you've even got, especially in a city, you've got postcodes and all sorts arguing and fighting with each other just because of that's where you live. So you kind of have that mindset of this is the world. The world is built around this area. Wolverhampton is the centre of the universe, so to speak. And that obviously wasn't the case. And him having had his experiences really opened my eyes up to what was available and what can be done, and just how changing and switching your mindset a little bit can impact everything that you do and the journey that you go on. So from there, I think more so than anything, I took from him that. At the same time as going through doing my coaching qualifications, got a job as a fitness coach in a local squash and tennis club, which sounds quite posh, doesn't it, to be fair?
It does sound nice.
Yeah, it does. It is nice if you go there. It's really nice. Grass and trees and all sorts everywhere, mate. It's better than the concrete that's out the living room anyway. So yeah, ended up getting a part-time job in there, originally as Sunday staff. The company I worked for, company called GFI, Formula GFI they were called at the time. So a guy called Matt Ford and the guy called Don Goodman who ran it. And they put me through additional qualifications. So again, if it probably wasn't for those guys, then I wouldn't be where I am now. So it was almost fell into the industry a little bit as a bit of a background and as a bit of a backup, and then started to think, you know what, this just ticks all the boxes for me. Obviously playing football, you're in and around the gym, so you're training constantly, you're developing yourself. So then when you go and play a game, you're in a lot better condition. Obviously going to coaching, you can then start to talk about the whole fitness element to that when you're coaching players and coaching footballers. And then because it was in a squash and tennis club, a lot of people were more so sports focused, which just aligned with where I was really. And you start to then over periods of time think, actually, you know what, this is, I enjoy being in and around this environment, and maybe I should look to put my eggs into this basket really. So it was about 17 when I started there, and like I say, those guys put me through my qualifications and ended up being a personal trainer PT there for 6 years. And again, if it wasn't for the support of those guys and starting to see some of the opportunities that were around there and learning from, because we had a really, really good, strong quality PT team. So quite a little bit different probably to what your experience was initially, because it was a squash and a tennis club. So there were only a few of us in there, and it was quite friendly, and we did all bounce off each other. And me being the youngest one there, apart from another lad who came in a little bit later on, but me being the youngest one there, learning from some of the guys that were in and around, obviously the line managers and stuff, that you just absolutely take everything from anyone. And I think because I'd not necessarily had in my mind that's my be all and end all. I'd not left home or I'd not grown up and thought, right, I'm going to do this and this is all I want to do. It was I just went into it a little bit more so like a sponge, and just wanted to absorb and learn from people and take different bits on, because football was something that I really, really focused on, and coaching was what I wanted to do. But actually fitness, I'm buzzing off this, and I'm learning different ways of training and how I can implement that myself, and then how I can take that and go and apply it with clients. And it was just literally like a bit of a sponge. So was there for quite a while. Obviously, that's when you start to look at the first couple of years. You're nowhere near where you need to be. We spoke about it 1,000,001 times. You just, from a business point of view, you're not running it as a business. Like again, being 17 years old, that's probably the furthest thing that was away from my mind at that time. How can I run this as a business and make really good money from it? It was just a bit of something to get money in, and being self-employed at such a young age. Again, you're starting to that's just more life experience and more learnings that you're taking on. So was there for a while. Formula GFI had another area to their business, so we ran clubs. So we ran a gym over at a school in Telford, and we ran the squash and tennis club, and then we were involved in delivering level 2, level 3 courses. So I think it was about 3.5 years after I initially started there, and got into my PT career. Charlie Graham, who was the education manager, she kind of had a bit of a chat, and she she must have seen what she saw in me. I don't know, mate, because it was, if you would have looked at me back then, you got slits in your eyebrows, and I had massive braces as well, mate. Massive braces. Big diamond stud in my ear. Yeah, that was in there. Big chandelier was there. So like, but then again, over time, I remember, it stands out now. Her saying to me, just have a little bit of a think about how you look, and she obviously wasn't standing there saying you look a certain way or you present in a certain image, but just have a little bit of a think of how you look, and does that match the sort of people that you're starting to work with, or the sort of people that are in this environment. And she wasn't telling me to go and change myself at all. It was more just that, right, switch yourself on a little bit and present yourself professionally, and then you're starting to think, actually there's more to this than me just turning up and thinking, right, everyone should adapt to me. I'm here to serve them at the end of the day. So how, like actually it's my job to start to change and be a little bit different and present myself in the right way to go and meet those guys where they're at, and then support them and guide them. So we'd had a bit of a chat, and then started to move into tutoring those courses. So travelled all over the country delivering level 2, level 3 qualifications, getting people qualified. And I think that then was another bit of a tweak in me to start to think, right, if I'm delivering and coaching these clients, like you're taking on 10 clients, eventually you're thinking 10 people twice, 3 times a week. If I'm coaching PTs and helping support PTs, and then they're going and working in a facility and they all get 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever is successful for them, however many clients they want to get, if they go and get that, then actually I'm standing here and I've impacted 100 people's lives just off the back of one course rather than 10. But not even just that whole helping people learn, and when you sat with them and you're talking through how different training methods and how you can apply that, and how your client is then going to move on, and you just see their eyes light up when they get it. That buzz was something that's stuck with me ever since then, really. And that whole development piece of helping people grow and get better and moving themselves forward has really been the catalyst to steer my career the way it wanted to. And then from there, no, go on, mate.
Yeah, it's crazy how like our journeys are totally different, but it's brought us to the same point, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like you were saying, the amount of support that you got when you got into the fitness industry was like, you got a lot of support, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then that made you, well, I'm guessing it made you go, this is what I like. I liked getting this. It made me feel good. So then I passed it on. Whereas I didn't get much, but the few bits that I did get stuck with me for all the way through. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think the only real reason initially that I wasn't probably where I wanted to be for those first those initial years was because of me more than anything. It's like you say, you've got people around you that are experienced, that have been doing it for a while, that have, like Don Goodman played ridiculous level, played for Wolves, professional footballer, lots of experience, lots of had been in and around training for a long time. Matt Ford, who to me is a top guy, but someone who's always helped me along in my journey and always been there and given me advice and support, and he's been involved in some absolutely huge projects across the industry himself. Massive. So just people like that you can learn from. Like this guy called Nick Richardson, who was unreal as a PT, top guy again. Giles, I'm just reeling off names now, but these guys that had all had experience and were able to share that with me, and for me to learn from that, almost got me into the mindset of, right, this is how it should be. This is normal. And then again, it's only when you go to like, you start to move into more commercial facilities and you start to see little other areas of the industry, and you realise actually it's not normal always, and you don't always have that environment that you can walk into and you get support from. And again, when I eventually moved into commercial environments and commercial facilities and working for commercial operators, you start to think, right, how can I bring that into this environment, and how can I make these guys feel as like I did when I initially started? So yeah, very, very different journeys, I think, mate. But again, those experiences initially that you've had have put you into the position you're in now, and those experiences that I've had again have put me into that position. So I do feel very, very, very fortunate to have worked with and to have spent time with the people that I have and had the influences on my career that I've had. And even up to now, like there's guys that we work with now that every single day you're sitting there and you're learning from. There's no one that you can't ever learn from. We were saying it on the live the other day. You can learn from absolutely everyone, and even now there's people that we're both learning from. So it's been a journey, mate. 13 years, been a bit of a long one.
What I like about that is that whether we've had loads of support or no support, it's brought us to the exact same point, probably at the same time, because like a lot of people don't know that we ended up getting put on a project together, didn't we? That's how we first met, and that project, like we couldn't quite understand why the company put us together like that, could we? But I think what they've seen is that both of our thought processes is to support, and just like you said, it's about creating that environment. Like these PTs now are spending nearly most of their week in the gym, and I always say, if you're going to an environment that you don't like, it's not going to be a productive environment. So So in the role that we're in now, we're supporting these managers and CMs and AGMs. It's like create the environment that they want to be part of and want to be in, which will in turn support and help you massively. And just give a crap about the individual that you're bringing into your establishment or facility.
It's that old saying, isn't it, mate? Like, you're a product of your environment, so to speak. So even us, like the environments that we've been in as we've grown up have created how we are now. But then if we're responsible for creating an environment that people are coming to run their businesses out of, and that environment is making them think, actually, I feel supported. This is somewhere I can be successful. This is somewhere that I enjoy coming to, and I'm getting out of it what I want to get out of it. And actually, this is my safe space. And all of these other things are floating around in their mind. It's just everything from there, from a business point of view, just follows on. And I think that for me, in my opinion, is and I was saying it the other day, why I resonate with people like Simon Sinek and guys like that so much is because their whole vision and their whole aura and everything that they do is geared on, right, how can I help this individual to be the best version of them possible? And I'm not bothered what money it makes for me, because if I continue to put these guys at the forefront of everything, the money and the business will follow after that. So but yeah, I agree that very different journeys, but got to the same place. And that project we were sitting there, weren't we, mate? Let's be honest, sitting there thinking, right, why is it that us two? It'd probably be worth asking at some point, putting someone in a room and saying, right, what was it that made you stick us two together? It'd probably be worth asking that. But because even then we say it all the time, very, very opposite in terms of personalities and whatever else. It's almost like, I think I said it to you the other day, if you asked either one of us how to get to 10, one would say 5 plus 5 and the other would say 7 plus 3. But we both get into the same place. We just go about it completely differently. And I think that's why we bounced off each other, and why we've been able to take bits from each other and implement that and help the people that we have helped and support the people we supported. But yeah, that's my journey in a nutshell, mate. That's me.
There's a couple of questions here that you sent to me before that I was looking at, and mate, a good one here to tie it up nice, just to finish it off perfect, is dinner party. Mate, I love these kind of questions. Dinner party, who are your 3 guests?
3 for my dinner party.
Yeah, three guests and why.
Mine are going to sound boring, mate, I reckon. So my first one would be Winston Churchill. He'd be my first one. Yeah. So I'm big into him, what he achieved over his life. Obviously, mentioned the war a little bit earlier, and that's something that gets spoken about on my mum's side quite a bit. Like the people that have experienced that, and there's medals and stuff on that side of the family. So that tends to jump out at me. So it'd be interesting to hear his thought process. But there's a lot more to him. than just the Prime Minister. He was an author. He was an innovator. He was responsible for all sorts, and obviously he was the Prime Minister for the Queen that we've got now, which is he would have worked under her old man and her, so he'd have stories from that, and then all sorts, mate. He would have seen the 50s and the boom of business and industries in the 50s, so it'd be good to get his input and his thoughts on that, because it all would have been new to him at that stage as well. So all of that sort of stuff I find interesting, so it'd be good to hear his stories. Who else? Probably a bit of a mix, mate. Who else? I was going to say Curtis Jackson then, but I don't think he'd sit very well next to Winston Churchill. He might do.
But it'd be a good guess, though. That'd be good. Yeah.
But again, I think that him more so. The reason he stood out to me, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, obviously being a teenager, and at the time, he was someone. Then his music was firing all over the place. Everyone was big into his music at the time. And his experiences and environments that he grew up with, and I think touched on it, but seeing friends that have been in similar situations and whatever else, that was something that resonated with me. But how he's then used those skills to go and build his businesses and be successful has been mad, really. Who else would I say? This last one's a bit of a tough one. I'd want to say, I'm almost tempted to say Tony Adams, so probably lose a few listeners when they all hear that I'm an Arsenal fan. But even him, like his journey through football, his experiences being at Arsenal, and then he hit rock bottom, didn't he, with alcoholism and all of that sort of stuff. So how he's come through the other side of that, and the mindset that he's had to adopt to be able to perform at the highest level possible, winning Premier Leagues, winning FA Cups, captaining one of the leading clubs in England, all whilst dealing with being an alcoholic. Like, the mind is boggled. So I think between the four of us, there'd be a few interesting stories in there. Not sure who'd cook. I'd put myself forward for that, to be fair. That's probably the only thing I could bring to the table, was a little bit of cooking, mate. But yeah, that's probably my three. What about you? Who would you go with?
I'd go number one. I'd go with Mike Tyson. Just in his head, just to listen and chat. I mean, I've met him once before, and I'll tell the story about how that come about on one of the podcasts. And when I met him, he was massively standoffish. It wasn't like the type of Mike Tyson that you see on interviews or in the ring. He seemed very unsure of who he was speaking to. Yeah. But yeah, most definitely Mike Tyson. And I remember doing an interview. If you remember, I said I was played in Wales, and they used to do interviews after the game and stuff. And they said, who would I most liken myself to as a football player? And I said Mike Tyson. And the reporter, it took him back a little bit, but it's like I played with aggression, and I played better when I was angry. How I thought I did. Played better when I was angry and stuff. And the more and more, he went through the court cases with his wife, and he before that, so when he was 13, 14, 15 years old, he was the muscle for corrupt gangs to get money back, and he's a bit of a hustler. And then he went into pro boxing, and then he met his coach, who then just pretty much the same as what we said. He bought into his coach. His coach humbled him. His coach got him to focus on a primary target or something that would make him happy. And it changed Mike Tyson, and he became this unreal fighting machine that was unstoppable. As soon as his coach died, everything changed. And he didn't have another figure like that. So it'd be good to just have a chat with him. Not as stereotypical as you think. It wouldn't be just like, tell me about when you knocked this guy out or when you knocked that guy. It'd be more like, how did you switch this guy? How did this guy switch your mindset? Like, what did he do? Why did you buy into him so much? And then why could you never find anybody to say, not to replace, but anybody else that could help you like that? And he's still experiencing stuff now, so I think that would be a nice guest to have on. I'd probably ask him about his appearances on The Hangover as well, because the decent films.
Not bad, that, mate. I could see you'd one of them tattoos. You'd be all right with that.
Mate, man. So yeah, he'd be my first guest. My second guest would be Richard Branson. Talked about it on the live. I'm not much of a reader, mate, as you know. I do a lot of watching and listening, but I read his book, and when I read one, I think it's his first or his second book that he wrote. And when I read it when I was on a flight, just how it was mad, mate, because what he was saying on how he's built Virgin and how he treats his people is exactly how I want it, exactly how I do it.
Yeah, I think he's a bit of a hot topic at the minute, isn't he, to be fair, with everything that's going on at the moment. And I don't know, maybe his views have changed a little bit over the years. But yeah, initially, like you're saying, that book that he had out initially was more focused on that, wasn't it? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, people. Okay. Yeah, it was focused on people and more like the business side, how he went from this kid that didn't have nothing to, well, what he's built now. Just his mindset behind that. Number 3, like you say, it's a tough one, mate. And I'd probably say, I said this once, and I got a load of stick for it, right, when I got asked this once. And I said Adolf Hitler. And people was like, why? And it was like, just to understand why that individual decided that the way I think is the right way and everybody should do it, by no means necessary. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Because it's that whole, like, if you look at the traits and the attributes that he's got, like, he's definitely driven. He's definitely got a vision for where he wants to get to in terms of, like, his business, so to speak. Like, he's got a vision for that business. He's got a drive to go and make it succeed. He's able to motivate people, whether you agree with how he motivated people.
Oh, you don't exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, to be fair. And I think sometimes with that sort of personality, I like that shout. Actually, it's a good shout, because I think
go on
with that sort of person. Like, he could have easily gone on either side of the fence, couldn't he? Again, obviously, we're sitting here with a certain viewpoint of him. We weren't around in those times to know exactly what he was thinking and saying, and whether other people were exaggerating it or whatever else, the media and whatever. We don't know. But he's definitely got traits and attributes in there that would in today's world, probably make him one of the, like, a CEO of another level company at some point, you'd think, potentially.
And that's my process. That's my thought process of interviewing this guy, or bring him in and have some dinner with him, just to see, like, what he was like as an individual. Because all we read about is that this guy was an absolute nuisance. You know what I mean? But like you said, like, if you look at the traits that we have and how we support and coach people, is the way he is driven, like you said, and the thought process that he's got about it, and how he's got buy-in over a country to do and say what he expects and wants, which for me isn't the right kind of thought. Do you know what I mean? But it just to understand where he was at, why that, because we're not all born bad, are we? Do you get what I mean?
No,
And we've talked about, like, our journey, what switched the trigger for us and stuff like that. And I just wanted to know, similar to Mike Tyson, is what was the trigger? Why with all this, like, you're a smart guy, a powerful individual. Why did you go down that path? Like, what made you, what changed, what switched? Do you know what I mean? And in terms of cooking, like, them three have got money, mate. So the chef would have sorted that right out. They would have been in a slap-up restaurant for them three, no doubt.
Fair play, mate. Just get the dominoes in. If it was my gaff, it'd be all right.
But yeah, it's always a good topic to talk about, because I think you get to see, when you ask a question like that, you get the person who's answering the question, you get a bit of an idea of where they're at and how they think. And it's, I think there's no secret to why we're asking the people that we've asked. If you look at, like, sport being a background, so we've got sports star in there, and then like how passionate we are about business and support and care and coaching and culture and environment. And then you look at the guys who we've asked, like the culture that Hitler's created was mental. how and why is one of the questions that I'd ask.
Yeah.
But mate, I got my head bit off one time when I got asked that question. I said it, like a full room went mad, and I was like, it's not for the reasons that you think. But if you're throwing Mike Tyson and Adolf Hitler in a room together, it's not going to go down.
Well, I was just thinking then, mate, if you bought your 3 and I bought my 3 to a table, you'd have Churchill on one side and Hitler on the other. So that would probably be a bit of a dust up as well.
yeah, it's mad, mate. And because I was juggling between Ronaldinho and Hitler. That's what I was juggling between.
Bit of a difference.
Yeah, but because football and Ronaldinho to watch was just unreal, and it was just to learn. Yeah, that's just like a bit of a fanboy.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'd probably, like I said, Hitler would probably be the better choice. Just for me to grow and develop myself, just to get into somebody's headspace and see where they're at, why they got like that. And if I could have helped, mate,
start coaching him. Yeah, fair play. Good. Yeah, good one. Interesting that. Really, really interesting. Like you say, I think there's probably 100 others that I could think of that I wouldn't mind spending a bit of time with. To be fair, and even I think if I gave a bit more time to it, they might. I don't know if they would definitely be my top 3, but they're 3 that jumped into my mind then. So yeah, good. Okay, mate. Yeah. So what we'll wrap it up there for the guys. Hopefully they've got a little bit of an insight into both of us, our backgrounds, our journeys a little bit more so, our mindsets a little bit. And moving forwards, what we'll be looking to do is get some guests on to hear about their experiences, what they've been through, their journeys, trials, tribulations, successes, and sharing what our thoughts are along the way as well. So thanks for listening, everyone that's jumped on, and we look forward to speaking to you next time. See you later.